Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my ranking of the 2008 to 10 Doctor Who specials. So I'll be ranking the five Doctor Who specials from Christmas 2008, The Next Doctor, to New Year's Day 2010 with The End of Time Part 2. Though The End of Time will be counted as one story. I will also be covering some honourable mentions and I'll get to those before we jump into this ranking. So before we start, a quick summary. These are really good specials. I really enjoyed all five of these specials. They're pretty good. I mean, they're not perfect. One of them is actually, but they're not all perfect. But still pretty fun, enjoyable stories and nice additions to Series 4. It would have been nice to actually have a Series 5 with David Tennant and Russell T Davies, but I can't change time. And hey ho, it's better we got these than absolutely nothing. 2016, 2019. Okay, they had one each, but we got three specials in 2009, with one in 2008 and one in 2010 bookending them, as well as also the animated special Dreamland, so we can't complain too much. Not to mention 2009 also had Torchwood Series 3 and the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 3, even though the former was a shorter series had come before. It was only 5 episodes compared to 13, but at least it was a full series, and Sarah Jane was the usual 12-episode series. For some reason, we also got the first episode of K9 in 2009, when the rest of the series aired in 2010. Most of them from April to July, and then a couple in October, November. So I'm not sure why there was an October 2009 episode here. Australia didn't get it until April 2010, so yeah. Not to mention the second episode actually didn't come until October 2010. They actually started broadcasting them with the third, for the weekly ones. Sometimes TV shows have some really weird schedules, and thankfully Doctor Who, as well as Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures, have managed to stick to their schedules pretty well. So, that being said, the Doctor Who specials from 2008 to 2010. Another fun fact is, despite Doctor Who only having 3 episodes in 2009, it was the most watched programme of that year. Interesting. Just from those 3 specials. And that's not including the other 2, or Dreamland, or whatever. It's just those 3 episodes. Interesting. Wouldn't get that nowadays. You can't even get, probably wouldn't even get 2 series in one year, and you wouldn't get that high. Then again, in the last decade, TV has changed. So, let's get started with the specials, and the ones we will be ranking are The Next Doctor, Planet of the Dead, The Waters of Mars, and The End of Time, parts 1 and 2 together. But before we jump into those, the honourable mentions, and these honourable mentions go to a few bonus specials that were released in this time, starting with the 2008 Proms minisode, Music of the Spears. This is counted as part of the special series, as the Proms is included with The Next Doctor on both its individual DVD and on disc 1 of this box set. The second honourable mention is the Tonight's the Night minisode special, Doctor Who Tonight's the Night. This has yet to be released on a home media format at the moment. Fun fact, the rights of the character Sal Till belong to the original creator, Tim Ingham, I think. I might be wrong about that surname. And he's got his own YouTube channel. If you're watching, Tim, nice! Anyway, the final honourable mention is, of course, the 2009 animated special, Dreamland. Like the Infinite Quest, this doesn't really count properly as part of the series. It's on its own thing, but I'm including it in this honourable mention because I reviewed it as a proper story, like Infinite Quest, and it came between Waters of Mars and The End of Time, so that's where it went in the review, and it's getting an honourable mention here, as it's not technically part of the series, but it's still within the time. So, like the minisodes, it's getting its own mention here. Right, now before I get boring, let's get down to the actual ranking. Number 4. This is going to be a shorter ranking compared to the other ones, as far as the number of episodes are concerned. Number 4. This one is currently the only Easter special to air, and the only episode to actually have Easter as its setting. It's a good, fun, enjoyable story, but there's a few things that could have been improved on. Number 4 is Planet of the Dead. The 2009 Easter special, and yeah, it's just a fun episode where the Doctor and a couple of friends, well, I say friends, a couple people go to the planet San Helios, a desert planet, and they have to escape the stingray, these metal stingray alien creatures. The Doctor's teamed up with cat burglar Lady Christina D'Souza, played well by Michelle Ryan. Though I think when the character acts sassy, she actually comes off a bit more bitchy in places. So I think the character could have improved over the course of the episode. If this was an actual series and she was the companion of the series, then I think that would have allowed some time for the character to grow. But as it's a one and only story, they don't really do that much development. Even I think Donna in Runaway Bride sort of had a bit of development throughout that story, and only to be expanded further when she returned in series 4. Astrid was good enough on her own without having to have too much development, but she improved as well over the story, as did Jackson Lake and Rosita in The Next Doctor, Adelaide Brooke in The Waters of Mars, and Bernard Cribbins was just absolutely fucking outstanding in The End of Time. But so it's only really Christina, as far as for the Russell T Davies ones, that well, it starts out obnoxious, ends obnoxious, without much of a development throughout the story. It would have been nice to have had a bit more of a play around about it, especially as they're using the cat burglar idea from the proposed 7th Doctor companion from season 20, 7th, 8th Doctor companion from season 27 onwards, that they didn't get around to doing due to the show being cancelled in 1990, following the last series in 1989. So they're using that idea, and I think that would have been a very good idea. It might have worked better if there was another series and she was the companion for that one. But for this one and only story, it would have been nice to have a bit more growth and development for the character. That being said, Malcolm, on the other hand, is fucking awesome. And also Captain Magumbo is also great. And I do enjoy the supporting cast as well, despite not having a huge amount of time with them. The Tritoballs, on the other hand, are pretty silly. they look like they look like the lazy classic series monster designs, and the classic series had some really great monster designs as well. These ones look more like the lazier ones from the classic series than the good ones. Yeah, the new series usually really great with monster designs, but the Tritoballs this time around they're going down the lazy classic route, and there's quite a few classic ones that are a lot better than this. Even with what they had at the time, even ones like even the Sea Devils look better than them, and they had to have the nets around their costume, but yet the head still looked better, and you could believe these were aquatic lizards, humanoid lizards. So, yeah. In fact, the Silurians themselves also look, the original ones look better. I prefer what they look like in Series 5, and we're going to get to that soon. Well, I say soon, and we'll be getting to that next series. But, yeah, even the original Silurians look better than this. This is so stupid. These are just flies in boiler suits. It might not have been so bad if it wasn't boiler suits, but still. So stupid. Okay. So Planet of the Dead. I mostly like it, but there's a few things I would have improved. Okay, number 3. Okay, this is controversial because lots of people will be wanting it to be last. But personally, I really enjoyed this special, or specials, I should say. You should probably guess which story this is by now. I think despite some certain directions they went with the main character, I still think that David Tennant gave one last outstanding performance, and we got an ensemble of fantastic supporting cast. The 10th Doctor's final 2.25 hours have arrived. Number 3 is The End of Time. Yeah, I actually like this one quite a bit. I mean, I know it's not perfect. I'm not going to say it's one of the best stories of all time. It's not perfect. I'm not going to praise it, but I liked it. My main criticisms are with the fact that they do make the 10th Doctor start crying about him dying. Now, in the context of him being the penultimate incarnation, it does make sense. But at the time of this story coming out, we were thinking he was the 10th Doctor, where he had at least 3 lives. Yeah, he had 3 lives left. Why is he crying about it? And even in the context, knowing that this was the penultimate life, overall, thanks to what was established in the Day of the Doctor and then the Time of the Doctor, even then, he's still crying about dying, even though he's still got one life left. And the whole new man comes sauntering away. That's doing a disservice to Matt Smith, and not only that, but he's regenerated 9 times before at the time when we were watching it, and 11 times, including the aborted mid regeneration in Stolen Off Journey's End. So yeah, he's done it 9 to 11 times before. Why is he crying about it now? Even if it was the last regeneration. It's just, I think the 10th Doctor just got too full of himself for his own good in this story. That being said, like I said, Tennant does a great job in the role. Fucking love Bernard Cribbins. John Sim is great as the Master again, and I think the character is better here than he was in the Series 3 finale, due to having a bit more reason for him to be mad and insane, but we're not quite at classic or sophisticated Master just yet. Sim's best performance is still yet to come, towards the end of another showrunner's era. Donna is actually utilised pretty well here, despite her not having too much in the main action, and Timothy Dalton is fucking awesome as Rassilon. But yeah, the story does have its own. It does have a few silly moments, and is a bit clunky and not perfect, but it's still a thrill ride of adventure and a really fun final for the 10th Doctor, and a great way to end off the Russell T Davies era. Hey, it's a better finale for a showrunner's era of the new series than Stephen Moffat's one, Twice Upon a Time. If they had ended with World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls, I'd be saying that was the best showrunner finale, or at least for the new series, but still. Nevertheless, the end of time, I like it, I think it's alright, but it has quite a few problems. Whew. For more thoughts, please check out my review. It's about 15 minutes long, so you'll get plenty of me talking about it, including the whole stuff about the Doctor visiting his past companions for about 10 to 15 minutes, and the post-regeneration scene where I get really excited at the fact that Matt Smith is taking over, because the 11th Doctor, as played by Matt Smith, is my favourite Doctor. And speaking of the next Doctor, number 2. Back when we thought the next Doctor could be played by David Morrissey, until it turned out he wasn't, and then it turned out Matt Smith would be. But David Morrissey does a great performance as the Doctor / Jackson Lake in this really fun, really enjoyable episode. 1 year before the end of time, we got a Christmas special that was really fun and engaging. Number 2 is the next Doctor. A nice twist to this and subversion of expectations, and a nice tease following the announcement of David Tennant's departure, but yet it's not the real 11th Doctor, it's just a tease for the audience, and ooh, that's really good. As I said, David Morrissey is brilliant as the other Doctor, who turns out to be a man called Jackson Lake, who thinks he's the Doctor because his mind ran away due to his wife being killed and his son being kidnapped by the Cybermen in order for him to work for them. And him picking up a info stamp and getting all this information of the Doctor put into his mind whilst fighting off the Cybermen made him think he was the Doctor because he couldn't bear to be Jackson Lake anymore, and now he's got all this information about the Doctor, so now he thinks he's the Doctor. And then halfway through, the Doctor helps him remember who he is, and over the course of the rest of the episode, he gets his memories back about what happened. And he becomes a great companion to the real Doctor, in his own right. And the same for Rosita. She's really great. She's really fun as the other Doctors / Jackson Lake's companion and friend. And she does a really great job as well. Miss Hartigan's also a devilishly dastardly villain. Although the way that she and the Cybermen are defeated at the end by basically her, after she becomes the Cyber King and the Doctor's opened her mind back up, and then she basically screams them to death. And the Cybermen voices, whilst Nicholas Briggs does a great job with them, for some reason they decide to tweak the voices for some reason, and they sound a bit more squeakier for some reason. I'm not really sure why they decide to do that, so yeah, despite a great performance from Nick Briggs, again, as the Cybermen, the Cyber voices don't sound that great beyond the fact that it's Nick Briggs as the Cybermen. The Cyber Shades are pretty cool though, and I like the Cyber leader, even though I don't think he should be showing its brain. That should be reserved for Cyber Controllers. But the black paint on part of his faceplate is pretty cool. Yeah, that's the next Doctor, and yeah, I like it. I think it's a fun story. Probably my third favourite of the Russell T Davies Christmas specials. I think the End of Time with Part 1 would be fourth, by the way. So Runaway Bride would be 5th, Voyage of the Damned is 2nd, and The Christmas Invasion, of course, being the 1st. And that's just the first 5 Christmas specials. Don't get me started on the 8 Moffat ones. We'll get to them. And speaking of Christmas specials, my number 1 choice was apparently a story that was intended to be a Christmas special originally, but ended up being the 2009 Autumn special. By the way, Next Doctor was the 2008 Christmas special, End of Time was the 2009 Christmas and 2010 New Year specials. But this one is just a plain special in the autumn. It's sort of a build-up to the End of Time as well, towards the end. But they decided to place it in the autumn, and this one is an outstanding episode. This story is so brilliant, and a really, really great personal and emotional dilemma for the Doctor in this story. Number 1 is, of course, The Waters of Mars. So, The Waters of Mars. Okay, where to begin? That I have already talked about. Starters, David Tennant's best performance. Sorry, Human Nature, Family Blood, and Science and Library Forest of the Dead, which were the previous 2 stories. I said that this was his best performance. First Human Nature, Family Blood, and then Science and Library Forest of the Dead. But I think he didn't. I think it's The Waters of Mars now. Lindsay Duncan is great as Captain Adlai Brooke. The supporting cast in that story are also really great. I love more or less every single one of them. I mean, some of them we didn't get enough time to get to know, like Andy Stone, but still got enough to like them, care about them, and the rest of them we got to know enough and to care about them, even if we don't get a huge amount, as most of the focus is actually on the Doctor or Adlai. But we still got enough to like and care about them, and the actors did a great job, and the whole personal and emotional and changing time dilemma the Doctor has throughout 2/3 of the story is brilliant. 2/3, no, 3/4, sorry. But then the last quarter, he then goes all Time Lord victorious, and that's where we get David Tennant's best performance. That is just absolutely ruddy brilliant. And, well, such an amazing bit. Only for him to be brought when he thinks he's the one in charge, he can control time. Only for him to be brought right back down to Earth, literally, when he realises he's gone too far. After Adlai makes sure time goes back on track, more or less with her death. Even though 2 of the other crew members did survive and stay alive, as opposed to dying in the incident, time is more or less put back on track anyway. And this, of course, then ties in with Ood Sigma's signal to the Doctor, requesting him to come to the Utopia, which would be, of course, be seen in the End of Time. But yeah, The Waters of Mars, just absolutely freaking amazing. This is also the last Doctor Who episode to be directed by Graham Harper. Bring Graham Harper back. And he does an outstanding job. This is absolutely spectacular, absolutely wonderful, just marvellous and brilliant. So, The Waters of Mars. Check it out. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And anybody wondering, yes, this episode will be appearing in my upcoming top 10 10th Doctor stories list. And I also think, yeah, it is on the top 10 mid to late 2000s ranking as well. I think, yeah, it's on both lists. It's definitely top 5 of the Tennant one at least. And definitely in the mid to late 2000 ones as well. So, that's it from me. Before we go, recap the ranking. Number 4, Planet of the Dead, the 2009 Easter special. Number 3, The End of Time, the 2009 Christmas and 2010 New Year specials. Number 2, The Next Doctor, the 2008 Christmas special. And number 1, The Waters of Mars, the 2009 Autumn special, just plain Autumn special. So, that's it from my ranking of the 2008 to 10 specials. And that's it from the 10th Doctor's era. Apart from the top 10 10th Doctor's stories ranking, as you're probably aware by this point, we're doing a top 10 stories ranking at the end of each Doctor's tenure, or top 5 in some cases, or top 5 moments in the case of the 8th and more Doctors. But yeah, and this will be the first top 10 stories since the 5th Doctor, due to the 6th, 7th, and 9th Doctors having top 5 stories due to them, because they only have... Well, the 6th Doctor only has 11 stories if you count Trial of the Time Lord as 4, and if you count it as 1, it's 8. 7th has 12, and 9 has 10. So it's a bit more fair on them to give them top 5 stories rankings, but the ones who have quite a few stories in their 10 years, which now also includes the 13th Doctor following Series 12's release. It would be top 10. So I'll see you guys next time for my top 10 10th Doctor stories ranking, then for the top 10 mid to late 2000s ranking, and then after that we will be on to the 11th Doctor's era, starting with Series 5, Episode 1, The 11th Hour, and I am looking forward to Series 5. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. During 2009, but I can't make, but never. We also got the first episode of K9s in the UK in 2009 for some reason, but okay, they didn't save it until 2010. We also got, for some reason, from the April or in the Oct. Most of them started. Some people say. So, So that being said, and apparently, despite only having 3 specials, the 3 2009 and despite 2009 not only having 3 episodes, those were the most watched. And yet also fun fact that but then again, TV has changed in the last few and first of all, and it's not the only story to not get a home media release. Dimensions in Time is another one, and there's been some Dimensions in Time in the minute. It's not the only Doctor Who related. It's not the only minisode not to get a DVD or home media release. Dimensions in Time, the TARDISodes, and even a few minisodes. Dimensions in Time and the TARDISodes didn't. And I swear there was 1 or 2 things from later down the line, around Series 7 and 8 time. Was it PS? I think it was PS that didn't get included on DVD or Blu-ray. Actually, it might have been, actually. It might have been included on the Series 7 box set. Anyway, though I think the character, when she gets a bit more sassy, and tries, Astrid had a bit of Astrid was actually good enough as on her, and you could believe these were sort of humanoid lizard fish creatures, or number 3. Now this one will be controversial because you'll either have people saying it should be last, or there'll be some people say actually maybe it should be higher, just because John Sim is better here than he was in Utopia Sound of Drums last times. Well, his master is. Sim puts a better performance in as well, but it's Sim is good. Donna actually has a pretty good. If they ended with well enough time in the Doctor Falls, I'd be saying the. And my opinion of because Matt Smith's my favourite Doctor. Moving on to number 2. Number 2. A year before the end of time, we got another really due to some so he now thinks he's a incarnate, and then at the end, as does Rosita, who I really enjoy. She's a great companion and sort of a prototype for kind of a mix with, and sort of and the same goes for Rosita, and then she basically just screams them all to death. Okay, so hopefully I would have enough time to cut that. And that's where we get David Tennant kicking it in with the best performance of the series. But yeah, I'm enjoying, and this is also Graham Harper's last episode as directing Doctor Who. As you're probably aware, after every Doctor's tenure is finished, we do a top 5 or top 10, depending how many. Unless they don't have enough stories, unless they don't have enough stories for, well, they can have enough for 10, but so it's a bit more fair. So I'll see you guys then and then after that we will be starting Move it. Go away.